Why am I in cuffs?
You can tell me your name, who you work for.
My name is Mike Vanning, Secret Service. Where's the president? Where is he? Is he okay?
You had this perfectly planned, Mike, didn't you?
Can't you see that I'm being set up?
No, I cannot, Agent Vanning.
The movie begins by showing an intense combat training. Secret Service agent Mike is a top performer during training at the military facility, almost reaching the extraction point. The facility is run by Wade, Mike's old commanding officer and now friend, who leads a private military company that's been struggling. When Wade hears about Mike's possible promotion to Secret Service director, he hints at needing some help to keep his business afloat. Mike promises to see what he can do. Despite his outstanding career, Mike hides his constant back pain from old battle injuries, relying on painkillers to get by. He also struggles with migraines and insomnia, but doesn't tell the full truth to his doctor, who suggests retiring to avoid health risks. When the doctor asks what he does for a living, Mike tells him he's into
Computer sales?
As the bodyguard for US President Alan Trumbull, who's about to introduce a major peace deal, Mike knows the stakes are higher than ever. One day, Mike and his family have a nice get-together with Wade, where Mike opens up about his doubts about accepting the director's job, feeling he's not suited for a desk role. Still, he promises to recommend Wade's company once a new director is in place. After another restless night, Mike prepares to leave for a few days to guard the president during a fishing trip. It seems like a lot of security for one person, but Alan pulls Mike aside, telling him he wants him to take the director position. Noticing Mike's hesitation, Alan gives him time to discuss it with his wife. As Mike experiences another episode of exhaustion, he asks for a moment to regroup. Meanwhile, several black vans filled with armed men pull up nearby. They set up a launcher system and fire a swarm of drones, programmed to target the president's security team. Mike spots the approaching drones and tries to stop them, but there are too many. The drones tear through the security detail, attacking one by one with facial recognition. As they close in on Mike, they suddenly veer off, intentionally sparing him on the attacker's orders. Realizing how serious the situation is, one agent pushes President overboard to shield him, and Mike quickly dives in after him, using the water as cover from the drones. News quickly spreads about the failed assassination attempt on the president, who's now in a coma and being rushed to the nearest hospital, with Mike accompanying him unconscious. As the president receives treatment, unresponsive, Vice President James steps in as the acting president of the US. Turns out Mike and President Allen are the only lucky survivors of the attack, and FBI agent Helen arrives to investigate. When Mike regains consciousness, he finds himself in handcuffs. Helen informs him that incriminating evidence has surfaced, linking him to the assassination attempt. His DNA was found on the drone launcher's controls, $10 million mysteriously appeared in an offshore account in his name, and traces of explosives from the attack were found in his garage. The mounting evidence frames Mike as the mastermind behind the attack, leading to his arrest. As Mike is transported to prison, a car loaded with armed men discreetly follows the convoy. They deploy an EMP, disabling the vehicles and their electronics before ramming into both escort cars. The attackers swiftly kill all the guards, blow open Mike's door, free him, and drag him into their car. But Mike fights back, overpowering his captors in a desperate battle and ultimately killing them, causing the car to crash. After breaking free from the handcuffs, Mike uncovers his attackers' identities and is shocked to realize they are mercenaries from Wade's company, the same group he had encountered during training. FBI agent Helen is notified of Mike's escape and immediately puts the nation on high alert. The authorities have also discovered the crashed car with 4 dead assailants inside. Wade faces mounting pressure from his employers for failing to take care of Mike, who is now a major liability on the loose. Wade insists there's still enough fabricated evidence for the FBI to firmly believe Mike is guilty, but he acknowledges that Mike must be eliminated. At a gas station, using a payphone, Mike calls his wife Leah to reassure her that he's safe. However, he was fully aware that the FBI was tracing the call. As the FBI tracks the call's location, 2 wannabe vigilantes recognize Mike as America's most wanted and try to intervene. When one attempts to make a call, Mike quickly takes control of the situation, neutralizing the threat while the other man retreats. Mike then secures a truck and narrowly escapes just as the police arrive, but his relief is short-lived when a police car makes a U-turn and begins chasing him. During the pursuit, Mike uses a tree to overturn his trailer, briefly blocking the police's path. Speeding along a dirt road, Mike is being relentlessly tracked by a helicopter and chased by a dozen police cars. The poor visibility and his high speed caused him to lose control, crashing into the concrete side of a bridge and overturning the vehicle. Mike crawls out of the wreckage and escapes on foot, disappearing into the dark woods. By morning, despite a massive search effort, authorities still haven't located him. What puzzles Helen is that they haven't been able to identify the 4 men Mike killed in the car crash. Meanwhile, the acting president James receives a tip suggesting that Mike might be working for the Russians, though there's no solid evidence to support this claim. A Congress member raises concern that it could all be part of the setup, but James denies it. With Mike's face plastered across the news, Wade knows Mike won't be able to use public transportation or easily blend in. He instructs his team to figure out where Mike might go to regroup. Mike, exhausted from lack of sleep for 2 nights, feels his energy finally running out. As he reaches a remote location, he suddenly hears footsteps crunching on the leaves. To his surprise, it's an old man who asks how Mike found him. The man is none other than Mike's estranged father, who had walked out on him when he was a child. However, Mike secretly kept track of his whereabouts and knew that he secretly lived in Western Virginia. Just as the tension between them builds, Mike begins suffering from intense back pain and withdrawal symptoms from his painkiller addiction. Back at the White House, acting President James delivers a statement accusing Mike of orchestrating the assassination attempt with the support of the Russian government. Meanwhile, Wade's team tracks Mike's movements and discovers that he has been keeping tabs on his estranged father, making it the most likely place to find him. That night, Mike is jolted awake by his father, just in time to spot Wade's mercenaries approaching. Despite his age, Mike's father hasn't lost his edge. He's dug tunnels around the property and rigged the area with explosives, taking out a few of the mercenaries. Mike quickly grabs his rifle and joins the fight. As they fend off the attackers, it becomes clear that the entire forest has been turned into a massive minefield, a deadly playground for Mike's father. It's a chaotic battle, one that could easily ignite a forest fire. By morning, Mike manages to unlock one of the mercenaries' phones and calls Wade directly. Wade admits that Alan's peace act is in his way, but insists it's not about money. He simply thrives on war. Mike makes a chilling promise. He will find Wade and he will kill him. Before leaving, Mike takes his father's car and leaves a message for Helen. He tips her off to his father's location, leaving the bodies of the mercenaries lined up with a note revealing they worked for Wade's company. Once again, none of the mercenaries can be matched to anyone in the federal database, deepening the mystery. Helen begins piecing things together, suspecting that Wade framed Mike to sabotage the peace act. Meanwhile, President Allen begins to slowly recover from his coma. Mike hears the news on the radio, but knows that Wade and his allies may still target Allen, so he needs to reach the president before it's too late. After asking his father for one last favor, the two part ways. Wade, under pressure from his employer to complete the assassination, receives a call from the mastermind behind it all, none other than acting President James. At Mike's home, 2 men break in and attempt to take Leah and their child hostage as leverage against Mike. However, Mike's father is there and swiftly neutralizes the intruders. Afterward, he emotionally introduces himself to Mike's family for the first time. When Alan finally regains full consciousness, his staff informs him about Mike's predicament and James's moves towards starting a war with Russia over the failed assassination attempt. Just as Wade prepares to raid the hospital where Alan is being treated, Helen arrives at Wade's base with a court order to shut down their operations. Confronted with his exposure, Wade resorts to violence, shooting everyone in sight, including Helen. With the FBI closing in, Wade calls off all activities except for the hit on Alan. At the hospital, with Secret Service agents everywhere, Mike sneaks in, holding a trooper at gunpoint to take his gear. Using fake commands over the radio, Mike navigates his way to the emergency elevator, taking an agent hostage to secure safe passage. Once out of the elevator, he demands to speak with Alan. Mike surrenders voluntarily, explaining the urgency of the situation to Alan, telling him it's a code red. Wade is coming to finish the job. Recognizing Mike's loyalty, Alan orders his release, despite objections from the Secret Service director. Alan then grants Mike full authority to handle the situation. As Wade approaches the hospital, only 20 minutes away, Mike continuously checks the perimeter for any signs of trouble. While waiting for the Marines to arrive, a nurse mentions that the hospital's system has been experiencing strange malfunctions throughout the day. Suddenly, the oxygen lines begin to fail. Someone has hacked into the gas systems and plans to blow the place up. Realizing they can't wait for reinforcements, Mike makes the call to get Alan out through the garage and back alley. Unfortunately, Wade has already infiltrated the area, taking out the driver of their escape vehicle. A fierce firefight erupts between the Secret Service and Wade's mercenaries. As Mike urges the team to move, Wade nearly hits Alan with a sniper shot, but one of the guards steps in and takes the bullet instead. Just as they reach the safety of a nearby office building, the hospital explodes, reducing one of its wings to rubble. Mike takes charge, ordering the agents to build a barricade and hold the position inside a corner office until reinforcements arrive. With the FBI and National Guard en route, Wade knows his time is running out to complete the mission. Mike instructs the agents to defend the area at all costs while he searches for potential flanking positions. Wade, spotting the agents near the corner office, quickly deduces that Alan must be there. His mercenaries unleash a relentless barrage of gunfire on the office, leaving the agents with little chance to fight back as they brace for a desperate last stand. Meanwhile, Mike takes down a dozen of Wade's flanking team, but a shot to his vest slows him down. With only 2 agents left guarding Alan, Wade uses a grenade launcher to eliminate them. Mike realizes something is wrong when the gunfire goes silent. The Secret Service director is positioned as the last defense, but just as Wade prepares to breach the final door, it turns out to be a decoy. Alan is actually secured in a different office. This deception buys just enough time for the Marines and National Guard to arrive and seize control of the situation. Then, Mike spots a helicopter approaching the rooftop, recognizing it as Wade's extraction. He rushes to intercept, but as he engages in combat, he's shot from the chopper. After neutralizing one of Wade's men, Mike notices a grenade rolling towards him, and just barely manages to block the explosion using the fallen mercenary's body. Believing they've finally taken out Mike, Wade runs to the helicopter, only for it to explode. Mike, armed with a grenade launcher, had outsmarted them. Now, only Mike and Wade, the 2 old friends, are left standing. They begin a fierce shootout that transitions into hand-to-hand combat. During the fight, Mike suffers another migraine, but pushes through. In the end, Mike prevails, delivering a final stab to Wade. As Wade bleeds out, he admits that he's glad it was Mike who beat him. In the final scene, all charges against Mike are dropped, and once Alan is reinstated as president, he successfully diffuses tensions with Russia at the G20 summit. Later, in the White House, Alan confronts James, revealing that before her death, Helen exposed all of his corrupt dealings with Wade, leading to James's arrest. With his family safe, Mike reconnects with his father, relieved to finally have him in his life. Mike confesses his struggles with painkillers and migraines, offering his resignation. But Alan, recognizing Mike as the only man he fully trusts in the White House after his bravery, insists that Mike take the position of Secret Service Director. Well, that's the end of this recap. How did you like this film? Let me know in the comments.